We are 3 months into this year. So how are those resolutions going? The goals, how are we manifesting what's on those vision boards? Well, if you're like me, you've been working on some things, but other things not so much. But I want to encourage us today to keep taking steps towards accomplishing those things that God has shared about you and your future. You know, in Joshua 1-3, Joshua and the Israelites are positioned to enter the promised land. For us, the promised land represents goals, dreams, visions, desires, hopes, and promises from God. And so God begins to prepare Joshua to take possession of what he had promised them. Are you waiting on a promise from God? Well, my encouragement today is while you wait, start taking steps. Help God help you. I mean, think about it. If Joshua and the Israelites never began taking steps towards the promised land, they would have never possessed it. But they had to be intentional about receiving all that God had for them. And as they were hearing from God, man, this is why fasting is so important, because it increases our capacity to hear from God, to receive instructions, clarity, understanding, get new insights about what's next. And so as they're hearing from God, God tells Joshua that every place your footsteps, I'm giving it to you. Understand that everywhere you go, there's favor for you. There's favor for us in this season, every place we step. God wants to give us new influences in new places. God begins to map out the boundaries of the promised land, and he tells Joshua that the boundaries will reach far. I love the King James Version because it says something like this: the promised land will extend to the great sea until the sun goes down. Now, if you've ever been out on the ocean, when you look at the horizon, it seems like there's a boundary line. But when you get out on the water, every time you move, that boundary line moves. See, the horizon is where the sky, the heavens meet earth. It's where infinite possibilities meet your private world. And that tells us that there is no limitation on what God can give to us. But it takes us getting out and walking in faith, walking into new territory. Just walk. Take some steps in faith, and every time you move, God's boundary line will move. I'll say it like this: every time you take a step towards your promise, you broaden your horizons. Every time you move, there's more that God has for you. Every time you move, God can stretch your capacity. But you have to be brave, be strong, have faith, and just move. There are things that God has planned that we've never even imagined doing, but it starts with what we can do, the steps we can take. So be intentional. Start that business, start that book, start going to the gym. Take those steps towards destiny. Position yourself to receive God's promise for your life. The way forward may be challenging, but I want to encourage us to keep taking steps. Don't miss the moment. Walk into every place that God has prepared for you. And remember this. Remember what God said to Joshua. And he's saying the same thing to us in this season. I will give you every place where you set your foot. So let's get to stepping.